Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto. This might be the last video for the GSX-R 750 Skoal Bandit. If it runs the way that I hope it runs by the time we get all the parts here to get this thing all completely back together. So we'll see how that goes, but it could be the last video. If it isn't, then there'll only be one more after this, I think. So yeah, stay tuned. Fingers crossed that everything goes according to plan, all the parts arrive, and we can get it fired up for the first time. Yeah, like I said, this could be the last video, depending on how smoothly everything goes, getting the rest of the parts that I need and getting it fired up and running the way I expect. So just a quick recap of what really is left to do as far as firing the bike up. Carbs need to go back on, and I'm still waiting for my throttle cable. It's not here yet. The company that I bought it from has been really dragging their feet. The exhaust headers are out, hopefully getting welded. I'll hopefully get those back within the next week. And this video that I'm recording is kind of going to be taking place over a period of about 5 to 7 days, I'm going to guess. So hopefully you see in this video when I get all that stuff here, we can put it on the bike and then try firing the bike up for the first time. So when I say it's a week away from getting that stuff here, you know, it's going to take probably a week to get this video put together. So it's going to be over a period of time. So yeah, so we'll see how that all unfolds. So we'll get the carbs on, get the exhaust on. We'll put this silencer mid pipe on, and then the plan will be to crank the bike over without fuel, just to make sure that get the oil circulating, because obviously there's nothing in that cooler. The engine's kind of been on its side and backwards and upside down, and everything is really drained out of there. There's a new oil filter on, and I also want to make sure that the rewiring that I did, the repinning for the gauge cluster, I want to see that oil light come on when I first turn the key, and I want to see it go out once I've done all the cranking. So I want to see it build pressure before I put fuel to it. So that's that's kind of the main part of what has to happen in order to kind of finish it off. I'm still waiting for the pod filters from Amazon.com. Normally I buy Amazon.ca. They were not available on Amazon.ca and .com. It's been weeks and they still haven't shipped them. So I've been on to customer service there, I don't know, umpteen times, and they assure me that it's going to happen, but it still has not. So yeah, it's kind of that stage where I'm a little bit annoyed about waiting for parts. The reality is the throttle cable I should have seen sooner and ordered it before I did. The exhaust, I did see that flange collar was loose a while ago, and I probably should have gotten that fixed before now. So it was, you know, some of this is my fault for waiting too long to do things. Yeah, so the other thing I will show you that I still have to make for this bike is, so this on this bracket right here is a little fairing stay, a fairing mount. There should be one on the other side, but as you can see there is not. So I have to make one of those because I've looked and I cannot find one. So I'm going to cut one out of a piece of steel. I'll bend it and probably MIG weld a nut on the back side, kind of like this one has back here, so then I can put the fairing fastener through into that. It shouldn't be too difficult, I don't think, to make one of those. Yeah, I'll make one and paint it gold so it looks like it's original. I'll make a template off this one, and then it just has to be bent in the opposite direction to fit the other side. So yes, that's and then there's a few things to do as far as assembly of body panels and whatnot. Still waiting for a petcock for this. I was hoping to reuse the original one, but I just don't want to risk it all leaking. So that's been a long time coming as well, far longer than I'd like. And then there's a few things in the upper panels and the fairings, like all this kind of trim work has to go back on, and the reflectors and all that kind of stuff have to go back on as well. Yeah, yeah, it's just kind of the small stuff, right? This stage of the project, it's a lot of small things, and inevitably you find things that, you know, should have been refinished, and they've gotten lost in the box of parts, and so now I have to refinish them now before they go back on. So, but that's fine. It's just part of the process. So we'll get there. So here's one new part I had to make. So this came off the bottom of the fuel tank. This is on the original GSX-R tank that was rotted out and not usable, but I kept the reflective insulation pad off the bottom of it, and what I've done is I used it as a template to create this one. It's the same material. It's just a reflective heat shielding that goes on the bottom of the tank. So yeah, I just use it as a template, cut a new one, and that one can go now on the bottom of the newly painted tank when that comes time to be put on. So I also need to do something about this rear tank mount, and it's also where the seat latches underneath the front here. So this has been cleaned, but it really doesn't look very good, and it came with 2 mismatched bolts. So I need to find a matching set of bolts and then figure out how I want to refinish this, because it's kind of looking it looks a little scabby. So you don't see it when everything's back together, but I think it would still look better if I put a coat of paint of some sort on that. So in order to get one of these for the other side, I haven't been able to find anything online. I do have a question out on the forums to see if anybody has one, but in the meantime I'm going to make one. So what I've done is I took this off, I unbolted that, and then just made a cardboard template out of that. I put the bend lines on there and just kind of traced around it, and then I put that on a piece of steel and I cut it out and shaped it and drilled the necessary holes. And so basically what I have to do is to find the right size nut and weld that on the back, so then I have the bracket. And then I did a test fit, and I just need to trim this down. You see where I have the black Sharpie on there? I need to give myself a little bit more adjustment room, just so this can kind of rotate ever so slightly this way. It's right, it fits perfectly right now, but it doesn't allow me for any adjustment up and down. So if you see the way this fits right there, which is basically perfect around that bolt that attaches the engine mount bracket, but the other one, it's got a bit more room, so you can actually kind of move it this way a little bit. So I'm going to just trim that off on the grinder. I'm going to find the right size nut that will receive the fairing screw, and then just MIG weld that on the back. It's a good opportunity to practice my welding. So yeah, I'll weld that on the back, and yeah, that should do the job. So apparently the chain guard that I have on there, despite how long it looks, is actually the correct chain guard for the GSX-R 750. Ralph Harrison, who is the gentleman who very kindly sold me the nice rear fender and license plate light assembly, confirmed for me that this is in fact the correct chain guard for the bike. So there you go, I just learned something new. The same chain guard was used on a number of different bikes, including the Katana, I guess. And so yeah, that gets to stay on there, despite the fact that it looks like it's a little bit long for the bike. So who knew? Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate the information. All right, so I got the header pipes welded up. You can see in there it's all been repaired. And there was also a bit of a crack down here, which has been sorted out as well. Unfortunately, these cost way more to weld than it should have. I'll avoid the rant, because there was a bit of a misunderstanding. This wasn't really supposed to be costing very much, if anything. and then the gentleman that was helping me out by taking these to somebody to do end up getting charged a silly amount of money to get them fixed for me, so therefore I had to obviously compensate him for what he was charged for it. He did not get the family discount. It was his future son-in-law that repaired them, and charged him and therefore me even more than I actually paid for these when I bought them off eBay. So unfortunately, that was an expense I wasn't planning, but it is what it is. You move on. It wasn't his fault. He was doing his part to try to do me a favor as a fellow motorcycle enthusiast, which I very much appreciated. But anyway, they're fixed. That's the most important thing. They are in fact stainless steel. They are not titanium. So we can progress now to the next stage of getting those installed and putting the pipe on. My throttle cable should be here in a couple of days, which is good news. And then I also received these pod filters, which I did test fit one, and they fit quite nicely. And these are the ones that they don't hit the frame. So these are 56 millimeter. The boot is 56 millimeters, and then there's kind of this oval shape. So yeah, it's they fit really nicely on the carbs. So I'm looking forward to getting those all mounted up. They had them in red, and they had them in black. So I thought, well, I think it would just be better to go with these in black than any other color. Just a bit more neutral. There's enough color on the bike now with the green. I think they might have been available in green too. I didn't see them there, but somebody said you can, if you search around, you can find them in green. I didn't see that, but I've got enough shades of green going on at this point that I think black was the right choice in color. So here's the push cable I got. This is a Motion Pro push cable, and as you can see, lining up against the original, it's like 4 or 5 inches short. So yet another product that doesn't fit. It's unbelievable how many things I've ordered in the last 2-3 weeks that I've had to send back. So that's gonna have to go back. I've sent back 3 fuel petcocks. 3 of them have gone back because they're wrong. So I now got a 4th one on the way. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's the kind of thing that slows you down a little bit. But anyway, what can you do? So there's the original push cable. That clearly that cannot go back on. That's just dangerous. You can't put this kind of stuff back on a bike. So that's what I'm waiting for. So we'll start to put the exhaust system back on. Hopefully I don't have any clearance fitment issues with the oil pan. I did dry fit it a couple of times without the gaskets and whatnot. It seems to be okay, but hopefully. So we've got brand new Suzuki gaskets here to go in. So we'll get these guys fitted up. So of course, putting the never sees on the manifold bolts just makes it way easier to get these things out later on if you have to, especially if they've been in there for a while. It's sure taken me a while to get these header bolts in, that's for sure. Not easy. I think we got it. just gotta double check that I've got all my clearances underneath here. If I don't, then this is gonna have to come back off. Looks good there. Let's go on the other side. We're good here. Yeah, we're good. We're real close on that bolt, but it is not touching. I can still see daylight there, so that's good. It was real close, but I think we're good. Let's see if we can get the silencer on here. I think the other thing we can do is put the new sticker on the silencer. So I tried to bend this thing a little bit just so it fits the curvature of the pipe better. So I'll see how it goes on. I get one shot at this. I cleaned the pipe with alcohol already. There we go. Since I could not find a nice Vance & Hines replacement sticker, we get the Yoshimura, which looks just fine. It covers up the rivet holes. And well, Yoshimura and Suzuki are kind of synonymous with each other, aren't they? Kind of like Muzzy and Kawasaki. So there we go. So I think, as far as I remember now, the only thing I'm waiting for is my throttle cable. And I just don't really want to be putting carbs on and off unnecessarily. Yes, I could try and start it with only the pull cable. That would be fine. But I'm just not into doing things twice at the moment. It gets tiresome. So I am going to wait for that throttle cable. What did arrive, finally, number 4, and it appears to be the correct one, is this fuel valve. So it's got a handle with it in there. So that's good. I've got the correct one of those. That can go on the tank. And yeah, just one more thing. Well, as far as I know, one more thing. Get that throttle cable. I mean, the other thing I could do, I guess, is put the battery on it and crank it over, because the other thing I need to do, well, 2 things. I just want to make sure that it cranks, first of all. Secondly, I did repin the gauge cluster. So one of the things that got repinned was the oil light. So if I put a battery on this thing, when I finally go to crank it over for whether it's to start it or prime it or whatever, I want to see that oil light go on right away. And then as I crank it to prime the oil through, because obviously everything's been taken apart, I want to see that light go back out. So just to be sure that I'm creating oil pressure. So I think the next job is going to be to pull this master cylinder back off and rebuild it. I do have a rebuild kit here. So this is the one that came off the Bandit. So yeah, I'm going to pull that off, I think, and rebuild that. So a buddy of mine who is a fellow collector and into memorabilia as well for all of his bikes, especially the race stuff, was down in the US recently. Knows that I'm building this Skoal Bandit GSX-R, and thought that I could use some of this. So this is a Skoal chewing tobacco, and although I don't smoke, I am awfully tempted to open this and just try it and just to see what it's really like. I imagine it being really disgusting, but I've never tried it, so I can't say. Not that I'm going to take this up. I don't see myself chewing this stuff for fun, but well, for fun in the sense I would try it just to see what it's like, maybe. But it's not something I envision doing on a regular basis, that's for sure. But and let me know what you think. Should I try it? I don't know. All right, so we'll get this master cylinder rebuilt. So I guess I probably should have taken this lever off before I took it off the bike. Would have been easier. So the plan is basically just going to be to disassemble this piston assembly in here, and then so to do that, it's the same as any other master cylinder, which I haven't done many of, but I've done a few. It's basically pull the boot out, and then there should be a circlip in there, and then once the circlip's out, I can haul everything out of there. But I'm just going to get my tools ready, and then we'll give it a go. Since this boot, you can see the boot here is basically completely shredded. I'm not going to do anything to try to save that. I'm just going to pull it out of here, which came out fairly easily. And so yes, so there is a circlip in there. Shine a light in there so you can see it. So I got to get that circlip out of there next. Bring out the big guns. These ones are really useful for reaching way down in there. There we go. So circlip is, once it lets go, everything just kind of pushes itself out. So as long as everything isn't seized, just kind of slides right out of there. So yeah, the board looks okay. There's a bunch of crap in here, which kind of like got that sugary sort of texture to it. That doesn't help things, but so we'll get all that cleaned out shortly, and then the kit, the rebuild kit, comes with all of this stuff. So there's the one that goes on the spring. There's the one that goes on the plunger. We have two new crusher washers. We have a new spring clip. And we have a new boot. And we have a new spring. So that should be good. So the next thing I want to do is I just want to make sure that everything is, the same size. So if I just keep everything basically in order, and that's just makes it easier to put it back together and less chance of making a mistake, I guess. piece done. So the other thing to note before I pull this off, I'll show you the flared end is kind of, so it's kind of flaring out this way. So it's wider on this side than it is on this side when it comes to the seal, right? So wide end of the seal here, narrow end of the seal seating back against this. You don't want to get that the wrong way around. There we go. So I just basically stuck it in and worked. I used this one just because it was sturdier to basically put in and then just run it around and pop it in. The other ones were just bending too much. So that's the meat and potatoes of that done. Now, check the size of this circlip. Appears to be okay. So just brake cleaner. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up a piece of shop towel here and run that inside, because I find that sugary stuff just doesn't really want to wash out that easily. So, all right, so I got everything cleaned out of there inside. Looks pretty good. So my plan now is I'm just going to put a little bit of, since it's been cleaned out with brake fluid, I'm just going to put a bit of, it's been cleaned out with brake cleaner, not with brake fluid. So I'm putting the brake fluid in it just to help lubricate everything a little bit in there. I'm going to put some brake fluid on these seals. As well. Just for ease of getting everything back in here. I can always take it apart again if I get it wrong, I guess. Circlip, pliers, you got that? Yes, sir. That's there. Now, when this boot goes in, the base of the boot, the wider part, seats down in the bottom of the master cylinder, and the upper part, there's a little collar there that has to fit in the groove on the piston. So we'll see how difficult or easy that is to get on. Seat that down. This, I'm not pushing down hard on that base, but I'm just kind of making sure that it's sitting down in the groove back in there in the little recess. So there we go. That should, in theory, work better. Well, we'll see if you can see what's going on from this angle, or not. But I'll talk through it as I'm doing it, and then you can give me your opinions on whether I'm doing this correctly or not. So basically, what I'm doing here, I've got the master cylinders remounted. The banjo fitting is not yet on the master cylinder. I've got my rubber gloves on. I'm going to put my finger over the outlet port where the banjo bolt normally goes in, and I'm going to fill the master cylinder actually. I've just taken my finger off there. So for now, I've got the port is wide open, so you know my hand is here. So I'm going to pull the lever in, and now I'm going to put my finger over it. And then I'm going to slowly release the lever, which creates a bit of a vacuum and should start to draw in some of that fluid. And then I've let my finger off again. I'm going to pull the lever back to the bar, put my finger back over the port, and slowly let the lever out. Let my finger off. Okay, now I'm getting fluid. So yeah, now I have fluid, and now I actually have full pressure from the lever. If I try to pull that lever, I've got a lot of pressure there now. So now I've got my banjo bolt on my washers, my new crush washers, without spilling all kinds of brake fluid. I'm going to try my very best to install that banjo bolt back in. So there, the banjo bolt is now going back in here. Just going to, I'm not going to tighten this up super tight yet, because I'm probably going to have to loosen it off to bleed it. So my plan now is I'm basically going to just move the lever in very small increments. So I'll move this up here and then pull it all the way in and let it out quick. You can see the bubbles are coming out there. You see the bubbles are in that master cylinder. All kinds of bubbles coming out. So I'm going to continue to do this for a little bit until every time I let her go real quick, then you see those bubbles come up. See that? You can see them coming up right there. Well, I'm going to do this for a while and then see how I get along. So that worked pretty well. Pretty good pressure there. It's pretty solid. So yeah, it seemed to work reasonably well. I'll just, again, I'm going to leave that to make sure that it doesn't leak anymore, and we should be good. Okay, so here's the two petcocks, fuel valves. This is the one that came off this tank. Now this tank was not on my GSX-R 750. This is the one that I bought off eBay. So it might have been up 750, it might have been up in 1100. However, this is the valve that came off it. And the only reason I'm replacing it is I wasn't sure whether it would leak given the age of it. And then, you know, the gasket around there was kind of getting hard. So I thought, well, let's not take chances. I don't want to ruin, you know, paint jobs or whatnot just because I cheaped out on a fuel valve. However, so this is the fourth one that I bought, and this is also different to the one that came off. This one has two fuel outlets. This one has one, and as luck would have it, this actually might work just fine because the Bandit only has one carburetor fuel line. It doesn't have like a dual line or anything like that. So I'm thinking this will probably work okay. Fingers crossed. You can tell that I did not paint the area of the tank where this petcock sits because I just didn't want to have paint interfering with the seal. So I put some tape over there when I painted it. But now I'm gonna have to. I will have to put some touch-up on here because there's actually bare metal right there. So again, I'm going to use this rubber care stuff just to do some rejuvenating on this trim for the mid-fairing. Get it good and soaking. There we go. All refitted. Looks good. All right, so I'll just do a quick walk around here so we can see how everything's looking. Not too bad. A lot different now than what it was when we started, that's for sure. All right, so just thought I'd show you this because I'm a sucker for buying stuff, and this is my latest paint gun. Now, I'm not under the illusion that this is a you know, a top quality gun, but I like paint guns. I've got this since I started painting. I've developed this attraction to paint guns. So I saw a review online of this. There's a guy, I think it's Pete's Tools. He buys every paint gun imaginable and does reviews on them. He does the expensive ones and the cheap ones. And this, he said, was absolutely the best inexpensive paint gun he's ever tried. This is a replica, I think it's of a SATA paint gun, and by N Tools. It feels really good in the hand, and it was, like he said, the quality of the paint work that comes out of it, like the atomizes so nicely. He said it's the best one that he's used of the kind of the, I'll call them the less expensive offshore guns. He said it's by far the best one he's ever used, and I've got a couple of them that I've used before that I've been pretty happy with. I did all my early paint jobs with a Cartman, and I've got a Neo, and they've both performed exceptionally well, and this is apparently way better. And so it was ridiculously cheap. It feels good, it looks incredible. The quality of it from the build perspective looks amazing. So I'm going to do my next paint job with this, It's a 1.3 millimeter tip, and there. And yeah, it comes with I don't use the disposable cup system. I just use the 600 ml cup. Came with a little bag of tools. Even came with an air valve that doesn't fit any of our stuff here in North America, but it's fine. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to trying it out. And it was cheap. I think it was like $60 Canadian shipped. 60 bucks. My other cheap ones all cost me like 80 to 100 bucks, and my more expensive Iwata guns, the Kawami, these guys, they were about 400 bucks a piece, and that was without the paint cup. So yeah, I figured I'd give this a go, and it feels really nice. It looks nice. Everything is just very, very impressive. So if it works as good as the review that I saw, that's kind of exciting. But yeah, I'll let you know in the next time I use it. I'll make a point of mentioning that this is the gun that I'm using. So we'll see how it goes. So there's the windshield mounted. This windshield's made in Poland, and got it off eBay. It's quite thick. Pretty well made, quite sturdy. It came with the edge trim as well, which I haven't put on yet. And so basically I've just put in I guess there's 5 of the main attaching points. The mirror mounts through these 2, and then the last mounting point is right here, which is where these this fairing stay up top mounts to. So yeah, it's quite a nice windshield. It's got the OEM kind of black trim on it, which is kind of part of what I wanted on there. Look as original as possible. And yeah, it's a bit of a challenge getting some of these in. The one side was more difficult than the other, but with a bit of careful levering through one of these holes, I managed to get it all assembled. It was a bit of a tense moment there, because you know, you kind of worry about you know, cracking, especially when these have been repaired again. But yeah, it turned out okay. It looks quite nice. So just reassembling the tail light components here. So what I have done is I put the plug and wire connector from the Bandit into the original tail light assembly for the GSX-R. That way it'll plug into the Bandit harness, and just reattaching all this stuff to the bodywork, and then it'll be ready to remount onto the bike. There we go. That's ready to go back on the bike. So that's going to about wrap it up for this video. Unfortunately, we didn't get as far as I wanted to get today. I was hoping we would get this whole thing wrapped up, but still waiting for parts, and not much I can do about that. So it's taken, at this point, it's been 3 weeks of elapsed time just to get through this particular video. And I'm still waiting for that throttle cable and a couple of other small things. So hopefully the next video we'll have everything in hand, and we can hopefully again move this thing to the end. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel grow, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks. A little pinch of this and just, oh my god, that is vile. Oh, I cannot recommend it. Oh my god, no. Oh, I don't know how people can chew that stuff. My mouth's still burning.